And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I'm JC Kenney, and I'm so excited to be hanging out with y'all tonight because we have the one-woman crime wave herself hanging out with us today. So, Sarah, let's get bookish.
Yes, my favorite thing to be. We are so delighted to have legendary author Vicki Delany here with us this afternoon. We're going to be chatting about her Lighthouse series that is written as Eva Gates. So we're really excited to dive into the newest release, Shot Through the Book, which a great cozy pun if I've ever heard one. So we're looking forward to getting bookish with you all. Want to say hello to our viewers who are joining us. We've got Mizan, we've got Sarah, we've got Regina, and Regina is putting in a comment, Vicki, that says, "I love your Tea by the Sea and year-round mystery series." So Regina, you're in the right place because we've got a lot of ground to cover. But in case you haven't heard of this one-woman crime wave, Vicki, do you mind introducing yourself to our wonderful audience members?
I don't mind in the least. And thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you very much, JC, for inviting me. It's just lovely to be on your show. Hi to everybody. Yeah, my name is Vicki Delany, and I am the author of, I think that my new book is my 55th book. So I write 4 different cozy series now. And what I'm mostly here to talk about today is my brand new one, which I write under my pen name of Eva Gates. And this is the Lighthouse Library series. This is the 12th book in the series. I also write the Tea by the Sea series, the year-round Christmas series, and the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series. So we have a lot to talk about.
We do. And you write within not only managing 4 different series, but there are so many books in each of these series. And so keeping those worlds straight, I can't wait to get your tips and tricks for how to write multiple series at once. But we do have another comment this one's from Vicki Browning saying, "Hello, the Lighthouse Library mysteries are my favorite." So that's nice. We've got a lot of fans in our audience as well as interviewing you today. So let us talk about Shot Through the Book. This is the 12th installment. We've got a lot of stuff going on in our small Outer Banks community. Tell us a little bit about what is happening in this particular installment, Vicki.
So this particular book, and most of my cozy books, I like to wait a fairly long time before the murder happens. I like to introduce the characters to set the scene, sometimes as late as a quarter of the way into the book before the murder happens. That's the way I usually work. This one, I deliberately decided I wanted to do something quite different. I wanted the murder right up at the front. So no spoilers here. So Lucy McNeil, our protagonist, is at home in the evening. It's 9 o'clock at night. Knock on the door unexpectedly. Her husband's out. She opens the door, and it's a best-selling YA author. And this author was Todd Harrison's his name. He was at the library that afternoon for a talk about the YA book festival that the library is putting on. She's no idea why he's come to see her that night. They're not friends. They'd never even met before today. But being a hospitable sort, she invites him in. It's a nice night. They have a beach house in the Outer Banks. So she says to him, "Why don't we sit outside? Would you like a lemonade?" "Yes, thank you," he says. "I'll have a lemonade." She goes into the kitchen. She gets the lemonade. She comes back, and he's been shot through the heart by an arrow. And the story progresses.
Arrow. Okay.
By an arrow. That's what shot through the book. Yeah. Yeah. By a bow and arrow, which is a different weapon for me. I have not used a bow and arrow before. I learned a fair amount about it. I'd always thought of bow. I'm thinking Robin Hood, right? You got a piece of wood that you kind of bend. It's like these things some now are so high tech. They're all made out of steel and aluminum and all kinds of fancy stuff. So yeah.
I just think of the bows. Oh, what is it? I think it's Hawkeye from the Avengers. That his are just like so high powered and massive. It's like That can, I mean, that's deadly. But what a cool, I mean, what a cool setup. I don't know if cool is the right word because we are talking about murder. And we do want to keep it respectful. But just like, I can't imagine Lucy, she goes inside and this has to be kind of one of the most abrupt run-ins with death that she has throughout the series. Does she, I guess because she's had that exposure to solving murder mysteries, throughout her time on Bodie Island. Is it
Bodie Island, by the way?
It's Bodie Island.
Yes, it's spelled Bodie, but it's pronounced Bodie.
Bodie. I wonder, like, how is it as her author, approaching these types of scenes in a heartfelt, realistic way of like, okay, she's got to process this, but we also have to get her involved into this mystery. What's the secret to making those two opposing ideas work together?
I think one of the keys is that even in 12 books, I don't want her to be cynical about it. Oh, just yet another person has dropped dead at my feet. So I want everything to be shocking to her and everything to be upsetting in a way, within the bounds of what a cozy mystery is. So I certainly wouldn't want her to be cool and cynical about it. So she reacts with considerable amount of shock. She phones the police right away. Only then does she think to look around and see, if somebody's still lingering around and that sort of a thing. So I think, so I do try to make it as if it's her first time. Well, at the same time, she has a relationship with the police that she's built up over previous cases, so I can sort of establish that they do have some kind of relationship as well.
So,
but
go ahead.
One of the things I had fun with in this book, as I said, the guy is a YA author, the dead fellow. He writes a fantasy series. He's a best-selling author. He's got a huge teenage fan base. And the teenagers all begin to gather at the site where he died. So they're there with their candles and their rituals and their teddy bears and the whole lot. And to Lucy and her husband's absolute horror, they realized that in his series of novels, when the leader dies, the mourners have to gather every third night for a year. So they've got all these teenagers hanging around their backpack at night, as I say, with their can, and they find them, trying to get in the house and all that sort of stuff. So I had a little bit of fun playing with that because I think there is a certain element of fandom that does, for no matter what, books, movies, anything at all, that does border on the slightly unreasonable, shall we say. So that was just intended to be a fun thing.
Well, as I am one of those folks, because I will freely admit, and I've told folks this, is that I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. When Jimmy Buffett passed away, a while back, I did go get a tattoo in his honor. So yes, I am one of those folks. I have never, sat in on a vigil, but I have done some of the stuff. But So Vicki, one of the things you've mentioned a couple of times already is you've mentioned the term cozy mystery. We all know what that term is. Tell us, you've written so many stories, so many wonderful tales for us all. Yeah, I mean, you're an absolute superstar, and like Sarah said, it's just we get to be fanboying and fangirling all over you today. So, would you mind sharing with us what the term cozy mystery? What's that mean to you?
I'm fairly specific in my definition of a cozy, and I'll mention, by the way, that I started my writing career writing standalone psychological suspense and police procedurals. So I haven't always written cozies. And cozy is often defined, as you well know, as a book with no graphic sex or violence or bad language. But I think you have to take it a lot further than that, because you can have a really dark, serious psychological suspense novel. You can have a horror novel that has no overt sex and violence, right? Because it's all happening in the head and it's the fear of the unknown and that sort of stuff. So cozy definition to me needs to be taken a lot further. So essentially, I see it as a book in which people generally live in what is genuinely a fairly nice place. They have a good community. They might have some frenemies. They might have, difficult relationships with their parents, but generally they live in a very nice community. They have a fairly good job. They're not particularly wealthy. They're not particularly poor. They have a good community of friends. And something has happened that has disturbed the peace of the community. Usually this dead guy here on the floor or shot in the heart. So it's up to our character, and with or without the help of some of her friends, to restore peace to the community. So to me, the crux of it is returning the community back to the pleasant place that it used to be, as opposed, for example, to a noir novel in which is set in generally an unpleasant world or a hard world. And even though the crime might be solved, even though the criminal might even be brought to justice, the world is still a hard place. Mm-hmm. So a cozy to me is very is that it's that sense of community and that sense of restoring things to their pleasantness. I suppose I'd say.
I think that is a wonderful way to see it. And I mean, community is so important in a cozy mystery. You know, the setting itself is really, you know, a character of its own. And your books are just like famous for these wonderfully tight-knit communities with a cast of characters that you love rooting for. We have Donna McKenzie in the chat saying how much she loves her books. Mizan saying congratulations on the release and how unique the murder weapon is with the bow and arrow. We have Vicki Browning saying, my husband is a bow hunter and those are tough to wield. And also saying that poor Lucy may never drink lemonade again. that would be trying. And Mizan, like myself, loves a good close community in cozies where I love that sense of everybody banding together. And Vicki, you have several different areas of the world, or I guess that you focus on. You've got the Cape Cod area, you've got the Outer Banks area, you have one in upstate New York. I believe that's year-round Christmas, right?
Yeah.
How do you decide on your setting, where you want these communities to spring up?
Well, the main focus is the books that are set, some of them in Cape Cod, and then the Lighthouse Library set in the Outer Banks. So I deliberately sought out tourist locations for two reasons. When people go on holiday, and I'm one of them, they often like to read a book that's set in the place where they're visiting or where they're planning to visit. And I'm like that too. So there's that. Plus, from the point of view of the author, if you're in a fairly popular tourist spot, it helps give you a lot of people passing through the community. You need to have a reason to introduce new characters, you know, not the murder victim, all the suspects, the guilty party. So you need a reason for a whole lot of people coming, basically passing through for the context of that one book and never to be heard from again. And any kind of a tourist community works really well with that. In the year-round Christmas mysteries, it's just upstate New York, but it's a fictional town called Rudolph, but it's still a tourist place because it's your year-round Christmas destination. So that's how they advertise themselves as. So they also have that constant turnover of people coming through the town.
And with
go ahead, Sarah.
Oh no, your turn. Your turn.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, and speaking of Christmas, that makes me think of gift giving. And folks, I tell you what, you are in for even your own little Christmas in May moment, because Vicki is kind enough. She is giving away a copy of Shot Through the Book to a lucky. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. My bad. And what's the title of that one?
Tea with Jam and Dread.
Another
Tea with Jam and
amazing,
Dread, not bread, dread.
Another amazing pun. And
yes.
If you guys haven't guessed from the name, this is from the Tea by the Sea mysteries, and this is an advance copy of the book. So you are getting like so much coolness in this giveaway. And Vicki, would you like to tell folks what they can type into the chat in order to enter into this giveaway for US and Canada mailing addresses?
That's right. Inspired by the Lighthouse Library series, let's go with the word lighthouse.
Lighthouse. All right, folks. So make sure that you're logged into Google, YouTube, however you log into this platform. Type the word Lighthouse into the chat. We'll get you entered into our giveaway and announce our winner at the end of the show. We also have another comment. This one is from Suzanne. Suzanne says, for Vicki, your series has been a godsend for me. It has gotten me through my spine surgery. Absolutely love you as an author. So that's quite an honor. And I thank you, Suzanne. That really is an honor. And I'm really pleased and I certainly hope you're on the mend. That I one of the wonderful things about sharing our stories with other people is the fact that we get to, we get to be in their lives and help them through these moments.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Vicki, like when you first made, because you mentioned that you were writing psychological suspense, what was it about the cozy mystery genre that had you shift focus and then begin like creating all of these amazing communities that you've then turned into these prolific series?
Well, I sort of fell into the cozies. Maybe I was getting a little unsure about one of the direction of my career. Some of my books are sort of psychologically a little on the edgier side. And I was sort of, I don't know, maybe getting a little, as I said, a little tired of it all. And one of my daughters is a paramedic. And for a while, she worked in the Turks and Caicos Islands, which is this tiny little group of islands in the Caribbean. And I had an idea, wouldn't that make a fun new series about a paramedic, working in one of these places? So I pitched that series to an agent who was not my agent at the time. A friend of mine introduced us. And she came back and she said, I really liked it, but there's no market for it. I'm not going to be able to sell it. So I thought, oh, all right. So I started this psychological suspense I was going to work on. And then when the agent got a request from Penguin Random House for somebody to do a work for hire of the Lighthouse Library series, she remembered that she had liked my work and she thought that I would be a good fit.
Nice.
So she is now my agent for all my cozy books, Kim Leonetti of Bookends. And so I pitched the Lighthouse Library series. I got that one, and I really liked it. I really liked the fun aspect of it. And I do think that cozy should be fun. It should be fun for the reader, and it should be fun for the writer. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. So after maybe the first two books, Kim said, maybe would you like to, do you think you'd have time to do another series? So I said, oh, yeah, I would really like to try another series. And that turned out to be the Year-Round Christmas. And it just went from there. So, yeah.
Wow. So how did the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop ones come into play? Because when you talk about cozy mystery titles, and I don't think that there is a better title than The Game is a Footnote. Like like that is perfection.
Okay. It's getting really hard to come up with Sherlock Holmes and book themed titles.
I can imagine, but that one was epic.
The Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series was just another one because I had two series on the go, and I was thinking, I still have time to write something more. So my first idea was a cozy series in which a character owned a bookstore, and I thought, you need something a little distinguishing from the bookstore. And I'm not a fanatic by any means, but I'm a fairly knowledgeable Sherlock fan. So I thought, that would be fun, a bookstore dedicated just to Sherlock Holmes. And it's entirely feasible to have an entire store, dedicated to nothing but Sherlock Holmes and its offshoots, because there's so much out there. And not just in books, but of course in movies and merchandise. You can get everything from socks to puzzles to mugs to T-shirts, everything. So it's quite feasible. And I started that book, and I was probably not even finished the first page, because my original intention was this would just be your normal cozy character who works at a bookstore. And she became Sherlock Holmes right away. So the character's name is Gemma Doyle, and she is my interpretation of Sherlock Holmes if he was a modern young woman. And that's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy doing that. So she's got a little bit of an edge. Some people aren't that fond of the series, and that's their privilege. Because she has a little more of an edge than the average cozy heroine does. Like Sherlock Holmes, she can be fairly abrupt with people who are not following her thought process fast enough. But that series is fun.
I can imagine I went to the Sherlock Holmes Museum in this past February, and talking like all of the different types of just like merchandise and memorabilia that they have. I was like, I can definitely see a bookstore being this, because
in this book they actually go to England. Look in the cover, you can see the Jack's kind of in the background in the bookstore. So they the whole cast take them all off to England for a wedding, and of course something happens.
Of course something happens.
Yeah, something always does. So Vicki, one of the things I'm really curious about with all the books you've written and all these different series you have going on, to your point that you're just discussing, your Sherlock Holmes character, main characters, some folks aren't necessarily fans of her. how do you keep your characters distinct from one series to the next? Because I know that's one of the things I have struggled with when I've started a new series. It's like, okay, I need to make sure that these characters, especially my main one, is unique and different, and I can't just have it be the same, character in a different colored shirt as I've done before. How have you done that?
That's a good question, actually, because what find I have to do is I write each book from beginning to end. And I don't really even think about what I'm going to do with another one. Now I'll get edits back from my publisher asking me to edit an earlier one. So I put what I'm working on aside and I do that again, but just in its entirety. And then when that's finished, then I go back to them. So I think that it's very important to me that I don't mix the writing up at all, because even though they're all cozy mysteries, the voice is different, the characters are different. As I said, Gemma tends to be a little bit sharper there. Brisker than the other ones in that. So it's just that division. Like, I don't even think about it. I just started this week. I've started the new year-round Christmas book. I stood at my computer and I had one idea. I said, I think I'm going to set Halloween. Nothing else. I had nothing. I had no idea, because I hadn't permitted myself to think about it. Is that a good thing? I'm finding at the moment it's not, because I'm struggling to come up with a Halloween story, but I will eventually. So I mean that all I'm saying is I concentrate on one thing at a time, to the exclusion of the others wherever possible.
Okay.
That's a good approach, because you're right, JC, about this like blending of characters, where I often find if I'm juggling too many, like bouncing between series, that it's like, oh no, like this person's sounding too much like somebody from a different world, and they can't be here. So are you a plotter, Vicki, or do you just kind of go where everything takes you?
I'm kind of a semi-plotter. So what I do is I start, like I did this week, with nothing, with no idea. Halloween is my idea. I might have a word that's an idea. In this book, the idea was, they would go to London. In the Lighthouse Library series, I did first think of, it would be fun to shoot somebody with a bow and arrow. How can I do that? And then I'll write maybe even up to a fifth, a quarter of the book, free flow, right? Get the characters straight. And as I said, I quite often don't even have the murder until well into the book. And then I stop, and then I outline from then on, because I find that really helps me get through the soggy middle, when I know sort of what I've got to do to get all the pieces in place.
That's soggy.
I tell you what, folks, I hope everyone is taking notes, because we are getting an absolute mastercraft when it comes to the craft of writing here from you, Vicki. This has been fabulous. So I guess one of the questions another question that I have, with all your different series and things like that, this is number 12 for Lucy. You mentioned you're working on the Christmas book. Can you share whether we will see more of Lucy in the future?
You will see more of Lucy. Book 13 is finished. In fact, it's due on the 1st of June, and it was ready to go. And it's one of the things about writing a lot. I know there are some series that are a lot longer than mine, but this is my longest standing, and it's 12. And particularly in a cozy series where characters develop over time, right? You think James Bond hasn't changed in 50 years, right? But a cozy character does not. Maybe they don't change in terms of personality, but their lives change like ordinary people do. You meet people, you make friends, you make enemies, hopefully not too many enemies. You meet a nice young man, you go out with him for a while, then you break up and meet another nice young man and you get married. That kind of general life cycle is what I'm talking about. So in the cozy mysteries, particularly in the Lighthouse Library series, which I do consider to be maybe the lightest of my books, she has gone through that arc. She arrives in the Outer Banks in book 1. She meets 2 guys. She dates both of them. She chooses one. They get engaged. They get married. So now we're on to book 12. So in book 13, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I am making, Lucy's still going to be around, and the series is going to continue, but I am making a fairly dramatic change, but I can't talk about, so we will see.
Intrigue.
Ooh, boy, yeah.
A year from now.
And what you mentioned about like the story arc, that especially that Lucy has gone on, like her name changes throughout the series because she gets married, and her last name changes. And I just think that is, I think, one of like the humanizing factors of cozy mysteries that make them such like a warm sense of relief and escape and security for readers.
It's also part of the character's personality. Like Lucy in particular, she meets a nice young man, and they get engaged, and then they get married, and that's a natural progression for her. She's the sort of woman who would want to get married and have a family, maybe some point in time in the future. Whereas I don't see that happening with Gemma Doyle. Her relationship, because she's Sherlock Holmes and she has a relationship with the cop, there's that conflict between them, and at some point in time, he keeps thinking at some point in time she's going to go too far. So and he's going to have to decide between his career. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that she thinks that, not him. She thinks that might happen someday. So I don't see her on the same life path that Lucy is, because Lucy's a different person, and that's part of the fun of it, right? That they are completely different people with different lives.
Discovering your characters, because they always have something new to share with us.
They do.
As they're puttering around in the back of our minds. Vicki, I want to make sure that we've got a comment from another user named Sarah, who is saying, as someone looking to start writing a book, appreciates all of the wisdom that you're sharing.
That's very nice. Thank you.
You're shaping the minds of future writers here. As we begin to wind down our moment together, I'm hoping that you can let our viewers know how to stay connected with you, either through a newsletter, whether you're part of Facebook groups, if you have any events that you've got coming up. How do we stay in touch with you?
Well, certainly my website is vickidelany.com. Just check the spelling of my name. My last name in particular is not the normal. So it's vickidelany.com. My email address is vicky@vickidelany.com. I'm on Facebook at Eva Gates Author. I'm on Blue Sky. I do send out a newsletter, so please feel free to sign up via my website for the newsletter list, or just send me an email, and that would be really great. I only send my newsletter out once a quarter because I'm kind of lazy that way, but so you won't be inundated with mail. But particular Facebook, Instagram, I'm on as well. I run contests. I'll be running a contest quite soon for the new arc of the new Tea by the Sea book. And those are focused on Facebook. I sometimes on focused on Facebook, sometimes on Instagram, not usually on anything else. So try and find me on Facebook. And I also say to people, there's lots of people not on Facebook. If you want to be in my private list of people who want to be entered in contests without doing it by Facebook, send me an email, because I just keep a little file. And, sometimes the draw comes out that I have to go to drawer 2, and I do that. So.
Fabulous. And folks, Vicki's not email, but the website is in our show notes, so you can click on it right from there. So you're taken to the right space. And so as I want to make sure that folks, if you haven't yet put the word Lighthouse into the chat for a chance to win a copy of the ARC for Vicki's upcoming Tea by the Sea mystery, Tea with Jam and Dread, which I almost have to sing in The Sound of Music, but I'm not going to do that as much as I want to. So folks, make sure that you enter in. And as we tally our winner for the day, Vicki, do you have any, beyond your own books, any particular cozy mysteries or books in general that you're reading right now that you'd like to share with our audience members that have caught your attention lately?
I'm reading a book that probably might be out of the wheelhouse of a lot of our audience, because it's by a friend of mine. Her name is Tanya Huff, Huff, who's a huge, very big science fiction bestseller. Oh. So she has written what does she call, a speculative or a science fiction, a fantasy cozy. So the picture on the cover is of a bakery next door to the diner, your little town, and there's these tentacles coming out from behind. So it's very, very, very much in the fantasy, in the world of being fantasy, but she's kept she's got the bakery where the character works, the small community, the secret that lies at the heart of the community. And it's just a lot of fun. And it's not the kind of thing that I would normally ever read. And some people might not like it, and that's fine, right? Of course. But to me, it's just something sparklingly different and original. So.
I love that we're like seeing a lot of this like cozy fantasy emerging. It's such a fun take on the genre, because I think just like everything in different genres, like if you just dial it back a little, you can make it a little cozy, like then it's just like a warm blanket. So that's fabulous. Thank you for that recommendation. And we actually have Vicki Browning in the chat saying that how much she likes Tanya Huff as well. So we've got a fan there.
She Tanya lives quite near me, so I see her regularly. We go for coffee once a month.
Well,
nice.
That sounds like a fun coffee date. Without further ado, our winner for today's giveaway is Suzanne Bain. Congratulations, Suzanne.
Right. Woo!
What I will have you do, Suzanne, I am going to put a email address in our in the chat. If you can email me your mailing address, and I will get that on over to Vicki so that you can get your advanced copy.
Right. One little comment. If she lives in the United States, I live in Canada, I need a phone number for the customs farm.
And a phone number. Okay, that is a very good thing for us to know. I'm going to make a note of that for myself so that I remember. So again, congratulations so much, Suzanne. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to everybody who tuned in today. We are so delighted that you could be here with us as we get to talk with and pick the mind of the amazing Vicki Delany. Vicki, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We're so glad that we got to celebrate Shot Through the Book with you. That's another one that I could sing too, if I really wanted to. So we really appreciate you being here. For our audience members, we have another Bookish Moment coming this Friday. It's actually Friday morning at 10:30 Eastern. We are doing a cover reveal for the wonderful Leah Dobrinska for her brand new Cozy Mystery series. So make sure that you stop by and see what we have in store for you then. But until we see each other on the internet again, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon and stay bookish, everybody. Bye-bye.